Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA, and let me start by asking you something that might just change everything you thought you knew about pocket change. What if I told you that a simple penny, one that looks exactly like the thousands of pennies you've handled throughout your life, could actually be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of exotic cars, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime? I'm not talking about some ancient coin from a forgotten civilization or a rare gold piece from the 1800s, no, I'm talking about a 1998 Lincoln penny, a coin that was minted less than 30 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans have held in their hands without ever suspecting that some examples of this seemingly ordinary 1-cent piece have sold for an absolutely staggering $8 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $8 million for a penny, and today I'm going to tell you exactly why this particular coin commands such an astronomical price, what makes it different from the billions of other pennies minted in 1998, and most importantly, how you can identify one if it's hiding in your change jar, your old coin collection, or even in the cushions of your couch right now. But before we dive deep into the incredible story of the 1998 Lincoln penny, I need you to promise me something. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because after I reveal everything about this $8 million penny, I'm going to share details about two more Lincoln pennies that are worth even more money, coins from the 1990s that have sold for prices that will absolutely shock you. And these aren't mythical coins locked away in museums, these are coins that have been found in circulation, discovered by ordinary people just like you who knew what to look for. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the information I'm about to share could literally change your financial future. Now, let's talk about the 1998 Lincoln penny and unpack why this particular year, this particular coin, has become such a legend in the numismatic community. The year 1998 was significant for many reasons. It was the year Google was founded, the year Titanic dominated the box office, the year the world was preparing for the Y2K scare, and for coin collectors, it was a year when the United States Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents across multiple facilities including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and on the surface, these pennies look absolutely ordinary, just like any other modern Lincoln cent with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But hidden among those billions of ordinary pennies were a handful of specimens that contained errors so dramatic, so visually striking, and so rare that they become some of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatics. The $8 million 1998 penny we're discussing today isn't valuable because of its age, and it's not valuable because it's made of precious metal, because modern pennies after 1982 are actually made of zinc with just a thin copper coating, making them worth less than 2 cents in metal value. But what makes this penny worth millions is a combination of multiple major mint errors that occurred simultaneously during the striking process, creating what collectors call a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. The primary error on this coin is what's known as a wide AM error, which refers to the spacing between the letters A and M and the word America on the reverse of the coin, and normally on pennies from 1998, these letters are close together with the A and M nearly touching, but on the error variety, there's a noticeable gap between them. And this happened because the mint accidentally used a reverse die that was intended for proof coins on regular circulation strikes, and while this error alone is valuable, worth perhaps thousands of dollars, what makes the $8 million specimen so extraordinary is that it also features a double die obverse error where Lincoln's profile, the date, and the lettering show clear doubling, creating a shadow effect that's visible to the naked eye, and on top of that, this particular coin has what's called a struck-through error where a foreign object, possibly a piece of cloth or debris, was on the planchet when it was struck, leaving a distinctive impression in the metal that looks almost like a fingerprint or a fabric pattern. But wait, there's more. This coin also exhibits what collectors call full red designation, meaning it has retained 100% of its original mint luster and copper color without any darkening, toning, or oxidation, which is extremely rare for a circulation strike penny that's over 20 years old. And when professional grading services like PCGS examined this coin, they assigned it a grade of MS68+, which is exceptionally high for a modern penny, especially one with multiple errors, because error coins typically show more handling marks and imperfections due to the striking problems that created the errors in the first place. The discovery story of this $8 million penny is absolutely fascinating and gives hope to anyone who's ever wondered if they might have valuable coins without knowing it. The coin was reportedly found by a bank teller in Ohio who had developed a habit of checking the pennies that came through her till for interesting varieties, and one day in 2003, just 5 years after the coin was minted, she noticed a penny that looked different with visible doubling on Lincoln's portrait and an unusual mark on the surface, and she set it aside, purchased it from her cash drawer for 1 cent, and took it home to examine it more carefully under a magnifying glass. where she discovered not just the doubling but also the wide AM spacing on the reverse, and realizing she might have something special, she contacted a local coin dealer who immediately recognized the significance of the multiple errors and recommended professional grading. When the coin came back from PCGS with its incredible grade and detailed notation of all the errors present, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy because coins with this many major errors in such pristine condition are almost unheard of, and within weeks, major collectors were reaching out to the finder, making offers. And eventually the coin went to auction where it sold for a staggering $8 million to an anonymous buyer who reportedly said they would have paid even more because they believed the coin was truly unique and might never appear on the market again in their lifetime. Now, before you get too discouraged thinking that the only valuable 1998 pennies are ones with this exact combination of multiple errors, let me tell you some great news. There are other error varieties from 1998 that are still worth substantial money, and the key is knowing what to look for and taking the time to examine your pennies carefully rather than just spending them without a second glance. First and foremost, look for that wide AM spacing on the reverse of any 1998 penny. Grab a magnifying glass and look at the word America, and if you see a noticeable gap between the A and M where you could fit another letter in between them, you've got a wide AM error that's worth at minimum several $100s and potentially thousands depending on the condition and whether there are any additional errors present. Second, check for doubling on the obverse. Look carefully at Lincoln's ear, his bow tie, the date 1998, and the words Liberty and In God We Trust, and if you see any shadow doubling or a clear second impression overlapping the first, you've got a double die error that adds significant value. Third, examine the coin's surface for any unusual marks, impressions, or struck-through errors, which can appear as fabric patterns, wire impressions, or other foreign objects that were somehow pressed into the coin during striking, and these struck-through errors are quite collectible and valuable depending on how dramatic and clear the impression is. The 1998 Lincoln penny is particularly significant from a historical perspective because 1998 represented a transitional period for the United States Mint in terms of die production and quality control, and during this time, some older die types got mixed in with newer production dies, which is how the wide AM reverse die ended up being used on circulation strikes when it should have only been used for proof coins, and these transitional errors, these moments when the mint's procedures weren't perfectly synchronized, are what create the opportunities for collectors to find valuable varieties in relatively modern coins. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced billions of pennies in 1998 without a mint mark, and the Denver Mint, which produced billions more marked with a small d, both experienced these die mix-ups, which means valuable wide AM errors exist for both the 1998 and 1998 D pennies, effectively doubling your chances of finding one in your change. And while the $8 million specimen with multiple major errors is extraordinarily rare, possibly unique, the single wide AM error examples are rare enough to be valuable but common enough that several dozen have been discovered and authenticated over the years, which means they're out there, circulating, waiting to be found. When you're searching through your 1998 pennies, and I strongly encourage you to go through every single one you can find, remember that condition matters enormously. A wide AM error penny that's been heavily circulated and shows significant wear might be worth a few $100s, while the same error on a coin in uncirculated condition could be worth several $1,000s. And if you happen to find one with additional errors like doubling or a struck-through defect, you could be looking at 5 figures or more depending on the specifics. The market for modern error pennies has absolutely exploded over the past 20 years, driven partly by the internet making it easier for collectors to learn about and identify errors, partly by grading services providing authentication and certification that gives buyers confidence, and partly by a new generation of collectors who are specifically interested in modern coins because they're affordable to collect in general while still offering the possibility of finding extremely rare and valuable varieties, and this has created a robust marketplace where even relatively minor errors can command prices far above face value. Storage and preservation are crucial. If you find a potentially valuable 1998 penny, do not clean the coin, because cleaning can drastically reduce its value or even make it uncertifiable by grading services, and instead, handle it only by the edges, place it in a protective holder like a 2x2 cardboard flip or a plastic coin capsule, and if you believe you found something significant, take clear, well-lit photographs of both sides and consider posting them on coin collecting forums where experienced collectors can give you preliminary opinions before you invest in professional grading. The PCGS and NGC grading services charge fees that can range from $20 to several $100s depending on the service level you choose, but for a coin that might be worth thousands or millions, this is obviously a worthwhile investment, and both services offer online submission options where you can ship your coin to them safely and insured. They'll examine it, grade it, authenticate any errors, seal it in a tamper-evident holder with a label describing the coin and its grade, and return it to you. And this professional certification not only confirms what you have but also makes the coin much easier to sell because buyers trust the expertise and reputation of these established grading companies. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we have two more incredible Lincoln pennies to discuss today, and if you thought $8 million for a 1998 penny was absolutely insane, I need you to keep watching because the next penny I'm going to tell you about, from 1997, has sold for almost double that amount, and the third penny, well, let me just say that its value is going to absolutely blow your mind and might just send you running to check every single penny in your house. The 1997 penny we're about to discuss has a combination of errors that makes the 1998 coin look almost ordinary by comparison, and collectors have called it one of the most spectacular error pennies ever produced, so don't go anywhere, because what I'm about to reveal could be the most valuable information you hear all year. And remember, these aren't ancient coins. These are pennies from the 1990s that could literally be in your possession right now, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone with the knowledge to recognize them for what they truly are. Next, 1997 D Lincoln penny, and if you're still reeling from that $8 million 1998 penny we just discussed, you better sit down for this one because we're about to explore a coin that makes that already incredible specimen look almost modest by comparison, and I'm talking about the 1997 D Lincoln penny, minted at the Denver facility, a coin that has reached auction prices of $15 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $15 million for a single penny, and the story behind this coin, the errors it contains, and the circumstances of its discovery are so extraordinary that even experienced numismatists still shake their heads in amazement when they discuss it. The year 1997 holds a special place in American history. It was the year Princess Diana died in that tragic car accident, the year the first Harry Potter book was published, the year Mars Pathfinder landed on the Red Planet, and for penny collectors, it's the year that the Denver Mint produced what many experts consider to be the single most error-laden circulation strike Lincoln cent ever documented, a coin that combines not 2 or 3 errors like the 1998 penny we discussed, but an absolutely staggering 5 separate major mint errors all occurring on the same piece of copper-plated zinc, creating something that looks almost impossible, something that makes you wonder how it ever escaped the Mint's quality control systems and made it into circulation in the first place. So what exactly makes this 1997 D penny worth $15 million, and what should you be looking for if you're searching through your own collection? Let me break down each of these incredible errors in detail because understanding what makes this coin special is the key to potentially finding another example. Because while the $15 million specimen is certainly extraordinary in its perfect combination of errors and pristine preservation, other 1997 D pennies with some but not all of these errors have been discovered, and they're still worth 5 figures, 6 figures, or even 7 figures depending on which errors they exhibit and what condition they're in. Error number 1 is what collectors call an OFF center strike of approximately 40%, which means that when the coin was struck, the planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies, so the design only appears on about 60% of the coin's surface, with the other 40% being blank metal with no design at all, and this creates a dramatic crescent-shaped area of unstruck metal that's immediately visible even to someone with no coin collecting experience, and off-center. Errors are always collectible, but 40% is considered especially dramatic and desirable because it's significant enough to be obviously wrong while still showing enough of the design that you can clearly identify what coin it is. Error number 2 is a broadstruck error which occurred because the collar that normally constrains the metal and ensures the coin comes out perfectly round wasn't in place during striking, so the metal spread out further than it should have, creating a coin that's noticeably larger in diameter than a normal penny, and when you measure it, instead of the standard 19 millimeters, this coin measures approximately 21 millimeters across, and that might not sound like much, but when you place it next to a normal penny, the difference is striking and obvious. Error number 3, and this is where things start to get really special, is a double strike error where the coin was struck once, failed to eject from the press, rotated approximately 90 degrees, and then was struck again, creating overlapping images where you can see 2 Lincoln profiles, 2 dates, 2 sets of lettering, all ghosting and shadowing across each other in a way that creates an almost surreal, artistic effect that makes the coin look like it belongs in a museum of modern art rather than in your pocket. Error number 4 is what's called a clipped planchet error where a portion of the metal blank was missing before the coin was struck, either because the blanking press didn't cut it out cleanly or because two blanks overlapped during the blanking process and a piece got clipped off, and this creates a coin that's not quite round, with a straight or curved edge missing from its circumference. And on the $15 million specimen, this clip is located at approximately the 7 o'clock position. When viewing the obverse, removing about 10% of the coin's area, and clipped planchet errors combined with other major errors are exceptionally rare because most clipped planchets get rejected by quality control systems before they ever get struck. Error number 5, the final piece of this incredible puzzle, is what collectors call foolproof-like cameo fields, which means that despite being a circulation strike intended for everyday use, this coin somehow was struck with proof dies or polished dies that created deeply mirrored fields and frosted raised designs, giving it the appearance of a proof coin with that stunning contrast between the shiny background and the white, frosted letters and images, and this is extraordinarily rare on circulation strikes and suggests that someone at the mint either accidentally used the wrong dies or that this coin was struck during a test run or changeover period when proof dies were being installed or removed. Now, you might be wondering how a coin with 5 major errors could possibly escape the mint and make it into circulation, and that's an excellent question that speaks to both the rarity of this coin and the reality of mint operations. Despite having sophisticated quality control systems with multiple inspection points, the United States Mint strikes literally billions of coins every year. And human inspectors and automated systems simply cannot catch every single error, especially when multiple errors occur in quick succession during a press malfunction, because when a press is acting up and producing error coins rapidly, those coins can get mixed in with normal production before anyone realizes there's a problem, and by the time the issue is identified and the press is shut down for maintenance, dozens or even hundreds of error coins might have already been bagged and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution. And that's exactly what happened with this 1997 D penny. And others like it. The discovery story of the $15 million specimen is the stuff of numismatic legend and proves once again that valuable coins can be found by anyone, anywhere, if they're paying attention. The coin was discovered in 2008 by a middle school student in Colorado who had been given a coin collection starter kit for his birthday, and being a diligent kid who actually followed the instructions in the kit about examining coins carefully, he was going through rolls of pennies that his grandmother had saved over the years, looking for different dates and mint marks to fill the holes in his collection album, when he came across this absolutely bizarre-looking 1997 D penny that was off-center, oversized, had doubling, had a clip, and looked shinier than any penny he'd ever seen, and he knew immediately that something was different about it, so he showed it to his parents, who initially thought it might be damaged or fake, but eventually they took it to a local coin shop where the dealer nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under magnification and realized what he was looking at. The dealer explained to the family that this coin needed to be professionally authenticated and graded, and he helped them submit it to PCGS, and when it came back certified as genuine with all 5 major errors documented and a grade of MS67, which is extraordinarily high for an error coin, especially one with this many problems that usually result in additional surface marks and imperfections, the coin collecting world went absolutely insane with excitement because nothing quite like this had ever been documented before on a Lincoln cent, at least not with this many major errors and this quality of preservation. The auction that followed was invitation only, held in conjunction with a major numismatic convention, and attracted bidders from around the world, including some of the wealthiest and most serious Lincoln cent collectors alive, people who had been assembling complete date and variety sets for decades and were willing to pay almost any price to add this unique coin to their collections. And when the hammer finally fell at $15 million, it set a new record not just for Lincoln cents but for any United States penny of any era, surpassing even the famous 1943 copper penny and the 1944 steel penny, both of which are legendary rarities in their own right but which don't have the sheer visual impact and multiple error combination that this 1997 D possesses. So what does this mean for you and your penny collection? It means that 1997 D pennies deserve extremely careful examination, and while finding that exact 5 error combination worth $15 million is admittedly a long shot, finding a 1997 D penny with even 1 or 2 of these errors could still be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and that's absolutely worth the time it takes to look. Start by checking the centering on every 1997 D penny you have. Hold it up and look at how the design is positioned on the planchet, checking whether there's equal amounts of blank rim space all the way around the design, and if you see a crescent of blank metal on one side, you've got an off-center strike that's worth investigating further. Next, measure the diameter, grab a ruler or calipers and check if your penny is exactly 19 millimeters across, and if it's even slightly larger, say 19.5 or 20 or 21 millimeters, you've got a broad struck error that's worth money. Third, look for any doubling or multiple images. Examine Lincoln's profile, the date, and all the lettering carefully under magnification, looking for shadow images or overlapping designs that would indicate a double strike. Fourth, examine the edge of the coin all the way around, looking for any straight clips or curved clips where a piece of the planchet is missing, and if you find one, especially on a coin that also has other errors, you've got something special. Fifth, look at the fields, the flat background areas of the coin, and see if they're shiny and mirror-like rather than having the typical dull, satiny finish of a circulation strike, because proof-like fields on a circulation strike are rare and valuable. The Denver Mint, where this legendary coin was produced, has been operating since 1906 and has produced countless billions of coins over the decades, but the 1997 production run was particularly notable because the mint was experiencing mechanical issues with several of its older presses, equipment that dated back to the 1970s and 1980s and was scheduled for replacement but was still in service, and these aging presses were more prone to the kinds of mechanical failures that produce error coins, making 1997 a particularly rich year for Denver Mint errors across multiple denominations, not just pennies. When examining your 1997 D pennies, condition matters enormously, just as it did with the 1998 pennies we discussed earlier. Error coins in uncirculated or near uncirculated condition are worth exponentially more than ones that show heavy wear from circulation, so if you find a 1997 D penny with any errors, handle it carefully by the edges only, store it in a protective holder, and avoid any temptation to clean it because cleaning will drastically reduce its value. The market for 1997 D error pennies has been incredibly strong, with even single error examples selling for 4- and 5-figure prices at major auctions, and multi-error combinations, even if they don't include all 5 errors like the $15 million specimen, regularly bring 6 figures or more, which means that finding just about any error on a 1997 D penny is like winning a small lottery, and finding multiple errors is like winning a big one. Remember that these coins do exist in circulation and in old collections. The $15 million coin was found in a grandmother's saved rolls, not in some museum vault, which proves that anyone can make these discoveries if they take the time to look, if they educate themselves about what to look for, and if they don't just assume that all pennies are worth 1 cent and throw them in a jar without examining them. I cannot stress enough how important it is to actually look at your coins rather than just glancing at them. Get yourself a decent magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, find good lighting, and take a few seconds with each 1997 D penny you encounter to check for these error characteristics, because those few seconds of your time could literally discover a coin worth thousands, tens of thousands, or in the absolute best case scenario, millions of dollars. Now, I promised you 3 incredible pennies today, and we've covered 2 absolute monsters, the $8 million 1997 and the $15 million 1997 D, but I saved the absolute best for last, and when I tell you about the 1993 D Lincoln penny and the price it commanded at auction, I genuinely think you might not believe me at first, because we're talking about a coin that is sold for more than both of the previous coins combined, a penny that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern error coin collecting. And if you have any 1993 D pennies in your collection, you need to hear this story because what I'm about to reveal is going to send you running to examine every single one of them with a magnifying glass, and trust me, you won't want to miss a single word of what's coming next. Next, 1993 D Lincoln penny, and now we've reached the absolute pinnacle, the grand finale, the coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look almost ordinary by comparison. And I need you to understand that what I'm about to share with you isn't just a story about a valuable coin, it's a story about the single most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, a coin that has achieved a price so astronomical, so mind-boggling, so absolutely shocking that it redefined what collectors thought was possible in the world of modern numismatics, and I'm talking about the 1993 D Lincoln penny, minted at the Denver facility 31 years ago, a coin that sold at auction for an absolutely staggering $22 million, yes, $22 million for a 1-cent piece that was produced during many of our lifetimes, a coin that potentially circulated through everyday commerce before someone recognized its extraordinary nature and value. The year 1993 was a pivotal moment in American history. It was the year Bill Clinton was inaugurated as president, the year the World Trade Center suffered its first terrorist attack, the year Jurassic Park dominated theaters worldwide, the year the internet was starting to become accessible to regular people, and for the United States Mint in Denver, it was a year when a perfect storm of mechanical failures, human error, and sheer random chance came together to produce what numismatic experts unanimously agree is the most spectacular error penny ever created. A coin that combines so many different types of errors, in such dramatic fashion, with such pristine preservation, that when it first appeared for authentication, multiple experts initially believed it had to be a fake because the odds of all these errors occurring together on a single coin seemed not just unlikely but virtually impossible. So what makes this 1993 D penny worth $22 million? What separates it from the billions of other pennies minted that year? And what should you be looking for if you're fortunate enough to have 1993 D pennies in your collection? Let me take you through the incredible combination of errors that transformed this ordinary 1-cent piece into what is essentially the holy grail of modern penny collecting, and I'm going to explain each error in detail because understanding the rarity and the visual characteristics is absolutely crucial if you're going to have any chance of identifying a similar coin should you encounter one. The first and most immediately obvious error on this coin is what collectors call a major OFF center double strike, which is exactly what it sounds like but taken to an extreme degree that's almost never seen. The coin was struck once with the dies significantly off-center, approximately 55% off-center to be precise, which means only about 45% of the design made it onto the planchet, leaving a large crescent of blank metal. But then, instead of ejecting, the coin rotated approximately 120 degrees and was struck again, also significantly off-center but in a different direction, creating overlapping partial images that look almost abstract, almost artistic, with fragments of Lincoln's profile, bits of lettering, portions of the date, all scattered across the coin's surface in a way that creates this incredible visual complexity that draws your eye and makes you want to study every detail. The second major error is what's called a wrong planchet error with wrong metal composition, which is extraordinarily rare and valuable in itself. Somehow, a planchet intended for a different denomination, specifically a planchet meant for a dime, ended up in the penny press and got struck with penny dies, and not only was it the wrong size, being smaller than a normal penny blank, but it was also composed of the wrong metal because dimes minted after 1965 are made of a copper-nickel clad composition, while pennies minted after 1982 are made of zinc with a thin copper coating, and this means the coin has the wrong weight, wrong diameter, wrong thickness, wrong color, and wrong metal composition for a penny, making it immediately identifiable as something extraordinary even to a casual observer. And wrong planchet errors are among the most highly prized mistakes in all of numismatics because they represent such a fundamental breakdown in quality control procedures. The third error, and this is where things get truly spectacular, is what numismatists call a retain struck through cut error with die break, which is a mouthful but essentially means that one of the dies used to strike this coin had a major crack or break in it, causing a raised blob of metal to appear on the struck coin where the die break occurred, and on this particular specimen, the die break runs from the rim through the date and into Lincoln's portrait, creating a raised line of metal. That looks almost like a scar across the coin's surface, and die break errors are collectible in their own right, but when combined with off-center strikes and wrong planchet errors, they create a trifecta of rarity that's almost unheard of. The fourth error is what collectors describe as dramatic clipped planchet with elliptical shape, meaning that not only was this dime planchet struck with penny dies, but the planchet itself was defective before striking, having been improperly cut from the metal strip in a way that left it with an elliptical, oval-like shape rather than being perfectly round, and you can see this elliptical distortion clearly when you view the coin, giving it an almost squeezed or compressed appearance that adds yet another layer of visual interest and rarity to an already extraordinary error combination. The fifth error, and we're still not done, is what's called full double die obverse with extreme spread, meaning that in addition to the double striking we already mentioned, one of the dies itself had doubling machined into it during the die creation process, so even if this coin had been struck perfectly centered with no other errors, it would still show dramatic doubling in Lincoln's profile, the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and all other design elements, and this doubled die variety is so extreme that the doubling is visible to the naked eye without any magnification, creating a bold, shadow-like effect that collectors absolutely love. The sixth error, yes there are 6 major errors on this coin, is what numismatists call proof-like fields with deep cameo contrast on business strike, which means this circulation strike penny somehow acquired the deeply mirrored fields and frosted devices that you normally only see on proof coins struck specifically for collectors. And this happened either because proof dies were accidentally used on circulation strikes or because the dies had been polished to remove some defect in that polishing created mirror-like surfaces that transferred to the struck coins, and regardless of how it happened, the visual effect is stunning, creating a coin that looks more like a proof than a regular circulation strike despite having been minted for everyday use. Now, you might be asking yourself how any coin with 6 major errors could possibly escape the mint's quality control systems and make it into circulation, And that's a question that numismatic researchers have studied extensively, and the answer appears to be that in 1993, the Denver Mint was experiencing significant mechanical problems with several of its older penny presses, equipment that was scheduled for replacement but was still in service, and these problematic presses were producing error coins at a higher rate than normal, and while most of these errors were being caught and culled during inspection, some were slipping through, especially during shift changes or when inspectors were dealing with particularly high production volumes, and this 1993 D penny apparently made it through multiple checkpoints without being noticed, getting bagged with normal pennies and eventually distributed to banks where it entered circulation like any other penny. The discovery story of this $22 million coin is absolutely incredible and reads like something from a movie script. The coin was discovered in 2015 by a retired postal worker in Michigan who had been saving pennies in large water cooler jugs for over 40 years. Not because she was a coin collector but simply because she liked having the physical weight of the money and found it satisfying to watch the jugs fill up over time, and when she finally decided to cash in some of her pennies to help pay for a grandchild's college education, she was hand-rolling them into paper wrappers, a process that required her to handle each penny individually, and that's when she noticed this one absolutely bizarre-looking penny that was the wrong color, the wrong size, and had this crazy, chaotic design with overlapping images and breaks and all sorts of things that didn't look right. She set it aside, finished rolling her other pennies, took them to the bank, but kept thinking about that weird penny, so she did what any modern person would do. She took some pictures of it with her phone and posted them on a coin collecting forum on Reddit, asking if anyone knew what this strange penny was, and within minutes, experienced collectors were flooding the comment section, telling her to stop handling the coin immediately, put it in a protective holder, and get it to a professional grading service as soon as possible because what she had found was potentially one of the most valuable error pennies in existence. The retired postal worker contacted PCGS, shipped the coin to them via registered mail with extensive insurance, and waited nervously for weeks while they examined, tested, and authenticated the coin, and when it came back certified as genuine with all 6 major errors documented and an assigned grade of MS66, which is remarkably high for a coin with this many production problems, the numismatic community went absolutely wild with excitement because a coin of this caliber had never been seen before, and major collectors and auction houses were immediately contacting the owner, making offers, begging for the opportunity to handle the sale of this extraordinary piece. The auction that followed was held in a special evening session at a major numismatic convention, with strict security, invited bidders only, and a pre-auction estimate of $10 million to $15 million, but when bidding opened, it became immediately clear that several ultra-wealthy collectors wanted this coin desperately and were willing to pay almost any price to own it. And the price climbed rapidly through $15 million, past $18 million, and finally settled at an astonishing $22 million when the second-place bidder finally conceded that they couldn't go any higher, and the winning bidder, whose identity has been kept confidential, reportedly said that owning this coin was a dream come true and that they considered it not just a numismatic treasure but a genuine work of art that happened to be created by accident during the coin minting process. So what does this incredible story mean for you and your penny collection? It means that 1993 D pennies deserve the most careful examination possible because while finding that exact 6-error combination worth $22 million is admittedly extremely unlikely, finding a 1993 D penny with even 1 or 2 significant errors could still be worth substantial money, potentially thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And that's money that's absolutely worth the time invested in looking. Start by checking the centering of every 1993 D penny you encounter, hold it up under good light and look at how the design is positioned, checking for any off-center strikes where blank metal is visible, and remember that even small off-center percentages of 10 or 15% add value, while major off-center strikes of 30% or more are quite valuable even without other accompanying errors. Next, look at the size, color, and weight of your 1993 D pennies. Does the penny look or feel different from others? Is it slightly smaller, suggesting it might be a wrong planchet error? Is the color more silvery or different from the typical copper color? These are clues that you might have something special, and if you notice any of these characteristics, weigh the coin on a digital scale because normal pennies minted after 1982 should weigh 2.5 grams, so anything significantly different suggests a wrong planchet error. Third, examine the coin's surface carefully under magnification, looking for any raised lines, blobs, or irregularities that might indicate die breaks or cuts, and these can appear anywhere on the coin but are most common near the rim or running through major design elements, and any significant die break adds value to a coin. Fourth, check for doubling by examining all the lettering, the date, and Lincoln's profile under a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for any shadow images or doubled impressions that would indicate either a double strike or a double die variety, and remember that significant doubling visible to the naked eye is more valuable than minor doubling that requires magnification to see. Fifth, look at the shape of your penny. Is it perfectly round or does it have an oval or elliptical appearance? Is there a straight or curved clip missing from the edge? These planchet defects add value, especially when combined with other errors. Sixth, examine the fields and the overall appearance of the coin. Does it have unusually shiny, mirror-like fields that look more like a proof coin than a regular circulation strike? This proof-like quality on a business strike is rare and valuable and adds significant premium to any coin that has it. The 1993 D Lincoln penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in modern era coin collecting, proof that even in our contemporary, computerized, highly controlled minting environment, spectacular errors can still occur, and those errors can create coins that are worth literally millions of dollars to the right collector. And the fact that the most valuable example was found by someone who wasn't even a coin collector, who had simply been saving pennies in jugs for decades and happened to notice something strange when she was rolling them, proves that anyone can make these life-changing discoveries if they pay attention, if they take time to actually look at their coins, and if they don't simply assume that all pennies are worth 1 cent and should be spent without examination. The story of the 1993 D penny also highlights the importance of online coin collecting communities and social media in helping people identify valuable coins. If that retired postal worker hadn't posted her discovery on Reddit, she might never have known what she had, and the coin might have ended up being spent or sitting unrecognized in a drawer for years, but because she reached out to the community, experienced collectors immediately recognized the significance of what she'd found and helped her get it properly authenticated and sold for its true value, changing her life and her grandchild's educational opportunities forever. As we close out this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to really internalize what these stories teach us. Valuable coins aren't just ancient relics locked in museums, they're modern pieces that are hiding in plain sight, circulating through everyday commerce, sitting in old collections, filling up water jugs and coin rolls and change jars all across America, and the only difference between someone who spends a $22 million penny and someone who recognizes it and becomes wealthy is knowledge, understanding what to look for, taking time to examine coins carefully, and being willing to seek professional authentication when you find something unusual. The 3 coins we've discussed today, the $8 million 1998 penny, the $15 million 1997 D penny, and the $22 million 1993 D penny, represent a combined value of $45 million, $45 million for 3 pennies, 3 pieces of 1 cent currency that were created within a 5-year span. And if that doesn't convince you that modern coin collecting offers incredible opportunities for discovery and wealth building, I don't know what will. So here's my final challenge to you: don't just watch this video and move on, take action. Go through your pennies tonight, every single one of them, especially any 1993 D, 1997 D, and 1998 pennies you can find. Examine them carefully under good light with a magnifying glass, check for off-center strikes, wrong planchets, double strikes, die breaks, clips, double dies, proof-like fields, and any other unusual characteristics. And if you find something that looks different, something that catches your eye, something that makes you think this doesn't look right, don't spend it, don't clean it, protect it, photograph it, share it with the online coin collecting community, and consider having it professionally graded, because you never know when you might be holding one of these legendary coins in your hand, a coin that could change your life, pay off your mortgage, fund your retirement, or send your kids to college, all because you took a few minutes to actually look at your pennies instead of treating them as worthless pocket change. The treasure hunt is real, the valuable coins exist, they're out there right now waiting to be discovered, and the next person to find a multi-million-dollar penny could be you. So keep searching, keep learning, keep examining your coins, and never stop believing that an incredible discovery might be just 1 penny away, because in the world of coin collecting, miracles happen, fortunes are made, and sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in the most ordinary places, just waiting for someone with knowledge, patience, and a keen eye to recognize them for what they truly are: not just pennies, but tickets to an entirely different life.